Yo, what is up guys? Boy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you could smash the like on the video, it would be much appreciated. And also if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. It really helps me out. Anyway, the undercard for Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2 is pretty much set. And to be honest with you, there's really not anything there to write home about. In fact, it's a really weak undercard, which is disappointing. However, there is one fight on the card that has piqued my interest, and it's a fight I'm looking forward to. And that fight is between Charles Martin and Gerald Washington. Now, a lot of people out there will say, well, this fight doesn't really have any implications on the heavyweight division. It's a pointless fight, blah de blah de blah. And listen, what they're saying is right. I can't see any one of these guys going on to be a world champion, or in Charles Martin's case, going on to be a two-time world champion. So yeah, while this fight doesn't really have many implications on the division, sometimes these type of fights can actually turn out to be really fun. I mean, look at Gerald Washington's last fight, for example, when he fought Robert Helenius. That was a surprisingly really good fight. And when you match these fringe level guys together, especially at heavyweight, you can get some good slugfests. I mean, look at Chris Arreola versus Adam Kalnatsky, for example. Another recent example of a fight that really didn't mean anything, but it was a hell of a fight. So, I'm anticipating something similar in this fight. I believe these two guys will put on a good show, or at least I'm hoping. And yeah, it's an interesting fight. It's a fight that, in my opinion, could go either way. Both guys, in my opinion, are evenly matched. I think both fighters' strengths can actually expose their opponent's weaknesses. And yeah, I just believe this is a evenly matched heavyweight fight at fringe world level. And like I said, sometimes these fights surprise you and yeah, can actually turn into some really good bouts. So I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, on to the actual preview / prediction, whatever you want to call it. I've got to say, going into this fight, it is hard to pick, but I would say I'm leaning towards Charles Martin. Now, in my opinion, between the two, Charles Martin is a little bit more robust, a little bit more rugged, and just a physically stronger and probably tougher guy. I mean, we saw Charles Martin basically shit the bed against Anthony Joshua, but truth be told, he just doesn't belong at that level. But we saw him fight a couple of levels below that against Adam Kalnatsky, a guy who brings immense pressure and can really find you out if you're not up to it. And he didn't find Charles Martin out. Charles Martin gave a really good account of himself in that fight. He took some good shots, he took punishment, and he came back with his own. He actually displayed some really good toughness in that fight. In fact, I actually felt he buzzed Adam Kalnatsky a couple of times. So he looked fairly decent in that fight despite losing. Whereas if we compare Gerald Washington's fight with Adam Kalnatsky, Washington just got bull rushed and he fell to bits. He just couldn't cope with the physicality or pressure of Adam Kalnatsky. So I do believe Charles Martin is the stronger fighter between the two physically, and I believe also he hits harder. Charles Martin has 24 knockouts in 27 wins, and while he hasn't really knocked anybody out of consequence, I mean, he's hurt the likes of Adam Kalnatsky, who's got a really good chin. So I would say Charles Martin is actually the bigger puncher. So in terms of physicality and things like that, I think Charles Martin has the advantages. But on the flip side, I would actually say Gerald Washington is a better all-round boxer. You know, Gerald Washington, when he uses his jab, when he sticks it out there, it's actually a really good punch. Gerald Washington can maintain range quite well at a certain level. For a man of his size, he's around 6'5", 6'6". He actually, moves his feet quite well also. So he's a good boxer on the outside, and he can be quite cagey and defensively. And I think that style can give Charles Martin problems. Charles Martin isn't the quickest on his feet, and even his hands aren't that quick either. Washington is certainly a more athletic guy. He's got quicker hand speed, quicker foot speed, and all round I would say he's a better boxer between the two. But I'm not sure whether he has the physicality to beat Charles Martin. Can he go 12 rounds just outboxing Charles Martin and winning a points decision? Potentially, But, Gerald Washington is a guy who does slow down. We saw that against Deontay Wilder. I mean, he was winning the early rounds against Wilder, but when he slowed down, that gave Wilder the opportunity to land that big right hand, and that was good night. Even the fight with Gerald Miller, he actually started okay in that fight, was boxing quite well, but once again, he succumbed to the pressure of Gerald Miller. Even back in 2015, he drew with Amir Mansour, and in that fight, to me, he just didn't do enough, didn't really have a good gas tank. His output dropped as the fight went on. And for me, his gas tank's never been impressive. So can he go 12 with Charles Martin without slowing down and getting knocked out? It's a tough one. I think he's got the ability to beat someone like Charles Martin. I'm just not sure whether he's got the gas tank, toughness, and that intestinal fortitude to make it to the final bell. So I've got to say I am favouring Charles Martin in this fight, and I believe he will do it by knockout, potentially late on, more than likely late on. I just feel his pressure that he applies will be a bit too much for Gerald Washington. Not only that, Gerald Washington is getting on now. He's 37 years old. He keeps himself in really good shape, don't get me wrong, but he's getting up there in age. And Charles Martin is the younger of the two. So going into this, I am favouring Charles Martin to win this fight, probably by knockout. But, it's a fight I'm not really confident about. And I'll be honest with you, it's a fight I'm looking forward to. Just because, like I said, sometimes these type of fights can actually turn out to be rather entertaining, regardless if these fights don't really have any consequence for the division as a whole. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What do you make of this fight? Do you believe Gerald Washington can beat Charles Martin? Do you believe he can outbox him? Or do you believe Charles Martin might be a bit too strong, might hit a bit too hard, and that he could get the knockout in this fight? Share your thoughts below. Peace.